In this module, we will be focusing on various censuses that were conducted after 1981 census. Let's begin with the census of 1991, which was the fifth census of independent India and conducted as usual from 9th to 28th February 2001 to present census data as on sunrise of 1st March 2001, that is the reference date. The two phases were continued in the same way like previous two censuses. In the first phase, a house list was canvassed to collect the information on housing data and also amenities available to the households. The second house list was enlarged, and for the first time, a question regarding type of fuel used for cooking was canvassed. In 1981, the question on availability of toilet facility was canvassed for urban areas only. However, in 1991, it was canvassed for rural areas also. During second phase, the following two schedules were canvassed: A. Household schedule, B. Individual slip. The special features of the 1991 census schedule as compared to 1981 census are as follows. The household schedule was so designed that the PCA with the 9-fold industrial category up to village level in rural areas and at charge level in urban areas, and also data relating to religion and mother tongue can be prepared by manual tabulation. B. A new question on ex-servicemen were also included. C. The concept of literacy was changed and children of 7+ age group were considered as literate as compared to 1981 when children up to age group of 4+ were treated as literate. D. In 1981 census, the question on seeking or available for work was asked from marginal workers and non-workers, whereas in 1991, this question was asked only from non-workers. E. In 1991 census, a question, "Have you ever worked before?" was included for those persons who have reported that they are seeking or available for work. Let's discuss in detail about the Census of India 2001. The Census of India 2001 was the first census of 21st century and also third census of millennium. As in the past, the Census 2001 was also conducted in two phases. During the first phase, the house listing operations were conducted between April to September 2000, in which a house list was canvassed. During house listing, information on a large number of new items such as condition of the building, number of independent sleeping rooms for married couples, type of toilets, availability of drainage with further bifurcation of open or closed drainage, bathing and cooking facility within the house was collected. Some of the questions like number of living rooms, number of married couples, which were canvassed during second phase in 1991 through household schedule, were canvassed during first phase through house list in 2011 census. Besides, information relating to possession of certain assets like cycle, scooter or motorcycle or moped, radio, television, telephone, availing bank facility, etc. were also collected. The second phase population enumeration was undertaken between 9th to 28th February with revision round from 1st March to 5th March 2001. Deviating from past census, the census movement was 0.00 hours of 1st March, which was otherwise mostly sunrise of 1st March of relevant census year, except 1971. In certain snow-bound areas of Himachal Pradesh, Uttaranchal, now Uttarakhand, and also Jammu and Kashmir, the enumeration was taken between 11th to 30th September 2000, but in certain districts of Jammu and Kashmir, it was extended from 1st October to 15th November 2000. In Kannaur district of Himachal Pradesh, due to floods, the enumeration was conducted from 12th to 31st May 2001. Due to earthquake in Kutch district of Gujarat, the population enumeration was undertaken during 9th February to 28th February 2002. In the second phase, instead of household schedule and individual slip, only household schedule was canvassed. The questions which were canvassed in household schedule and individual slips in previous two census were put together in one schedule and named as Household Schedule. The Household Schedule of 2001 census designed contains 23 questions which runs into 39 columns printed on both sides of the schedule. Following were the new features of 2001 Household Schedule. Information regarding age at marriage was collected for males also. For type of education institutions being attended by a person, vocational or other institutes and literacy centers were added. A new question to collect information on total or partial disability was canvassed. In 1981, the question on disability was canvassed in first phase and dropped in 1991 census. Question on seeking and available for work was also canvassed from marginal workers, and question on secondary work of main workers was dropped. A new question on distance travelled by a person to his or her workplace and also mode of travel was canvassed for persons engaged in non-agriculture activities. Sex-wise information was collected for the children born alive during last 1 year. Net area of land under cultivation or plantation and net area of irrigated land was also collected for those households who were engaged in cultivation or plantation in Part 3 of Household Schedule. For the first time, provision was made in the Household Schedule for taking signature or thumb impression of the respondent. A quantum leap was also made in the technology front in 2001 census. The schedules for the phases were scanned through high-speed scanners and handwritten data from the schedules were converted into digitized forms through Intelligent Character Reading (ICR). Changes in the 2011 census. The 2011 census featured several important changes to the population enumeration questions. The disability information became more detailed and important. The disability questions were moved before mother tongue on the questionnaire, and a demarcation was made between mental retardation, which is inborn, and mental illness, which can be acquired later in life. In addition, the questionnaire asked for information on a wide range of specific disabilities, including visual, audible, speech, locomotor, mental retardation, mental ailments, multiple disabilities, with an option for any other to include disabilities that were not listed. Date of birth became a mandatory question. In rural areas where most people don't know their birth dates, enumerators asked them to remember an event that happened close to their birth. India and Bangladesh conducted their first ever joint census of areas along their border. Third gender was added as a separate category under gender. Separated was added to the marital category options. In the past, women were only able to list themselves as single, married, widowed, or divorced. Census method mainly refers to the complete enumeration of a universe. A universe may be a place, a group of people, or a specific locality through which we collect the data. Census method is necessary in some cases like population census, agricultural census, animal census, etc. for gaining vast knowledge from these issues. But in contrary, this method is not applicable as well as needed to some social problems because it is very costly affair and also time consuming. It is difficult to study the whole universe because financially it requires for it to complete the study. For this purpose, we mainly use sampling methods to pick up a sample from the whole universe. Census method is a perplex and take more time in collection of data. Suitability of census method. The census method is suitable only in the following specific cases. 1. Where the universe is not vast. 2. Where there is enough time to collect data. 3. Where higher degree of accuracy is required. 4. Where there is enough availability of finance. Let's discuss in detail about the various advantages and disadvantages of census methods. Let's focus on advantages. It's mainly an intensive study. Data collection through census method gives opportunity to the investigator to have an intensive study about a problem. The investigator gathers a lot of knowledge through these methods. Higher degree of accuracy. In this method, there would be higher degree of accuracy in data. No other method is accurate like census method when the universe is small. Suitable for heterogeneous units. This method is also applicable for units having heterogeneity or differences. Indispensable in some cases. In certain cases, this method is very important and suitable to be used for data collection. Let's discuss about the various disadvantages of census method in data collection. The following are its demerits. It is inconvenient. This method is inconvenient because it takes much time, money and set of industrial organizations. Possible in few cases. This method is possible only in few cases of data collection. Possible in limited circumstances. It is also possible only in limited universe but not in the larger areas. Time and labor consuming. It's much time and labor consuming. It requires a lot of people to involve in data collection operations. More statistical errors. The data collected through this method would have more statistical errors. Census method of data collection is helpful only in an area where inquiry is limited, more time and finances are available, and the data have a high degree of accuracy, otherwise it is not feasible. Top two methods of conducting a census and also with its merits and demerits. 1. De facto method of census. Under this method, the Census Commission fixes one day for conducting the census throughout the country. It's usually done on a full moon night because it's presumed that all households are present at their residences during that time. This technique was followed both in England and India up to the 1931 census. What are its major merits? This method has the following advantages. It's not time consuming because the entire enumeration work is done within one night. This is the real enumeration because the households are actually present in their place of residence. Even persons present at other places within the country are also enumerated. The major demerits of this method is that one of its main defects is that persons who are traveling during the night in trains, buses and aeroplanes cannot be enumerated. As the time period for enumeration is fixed for only one night, it requires large number of trained enumerators who may not be available, especially in developing countries like India. As the data are to be collected within a short period of one night, the census work may not be completed and the staff may fill up the gaps of their own based on guess. Nobody likes to be disturbed at night, so the households may not provide accurate information to the enumerators who are unwelcome at odd hours. Thus, such a method is not practicable. That's why it was given up in India and England after 1931 census. Let's focus now on de jure method of census. Under this method, the enumeration period of 2 or 3 weeks is fixed. The enumerators collect information from households by visiting them very often to fill up the various schedules. Persons residing temporarily at a place are not enumerated. Only persons residing permanently at a place are counted in it. This is also called the real and direct enumeration method of census. This method has the following merits. This is called real method because the enumerators are given sufficient time to collect information from the households by making frequent visits to them. It is possible to collect a wide variety of information relating to sex, age, language, education, occupation, etc. For instance, the schedule of Census of India 2001 had 23 questions with 39 columns for collecting information on various socio-economic conditions of the population. Such diverse data are used by the Census Commission in arriving at various aspects of population growth, such as birth rates, death rates, sex ratio, occupational distribution, literacy rate, etc. These data are further used by administrators for policy formulations regarding health and family planning, poverty alleviation, etc. The major demerits of this method is persons who are not residing permanently at a place at the time of enumeration are usually left out. The same problem arises when a person has 2 houses at 2 different towns and resides in them for the purpose of business or other activities. During the period of census, if the enumerator has filled up the census schedule of a particular household on a specific date and a birth or death take place there, this will not be accounted for in the census. Similarly, the family itself may migrate to some other town during this period. The various problematic issues of census, let's discuss. There have been a couple of controversies regarding the census in the recent past. The recent one was the controversy regarding the clubbing of housewives alongside beggars, prostitutes and prisoners in the economically non-productive category. A census is the procedure of systematically acquiring and recording information about the members of a given population. Thus, it is regularly occurring and official count of a particular population. It can be considered as a tool in the hands of governments that can help in formulating various pro-people policies, although our experience in India, this cannot be totally said to be true. During census collection, government appoints various people to collect data based on the questionnaire provided by the government of India and then collate that data so that this data can in turn be used to create various policies. Let's focus about the major issues that arises. For instance, internal migration. The problem is critical for India as well. Indian cities have been experiencing heavy inflow of rural migrants, yet they belong to cities and have on occasions grown into influential political constituencies. Civic policies for infrastructure and public services require detailed knowledge of such migrants. Determining migrant population faces the problem of non-disclosures. Incentives for getting recorded as residents of cities may encourage many migrants not to disclose their original addresses. Problems are created more because of the existence of different categories of migrants. Migrants are also difficult to track as they change addresses frequently. Besides, they create problems of double counting. The same migrant may be in two locations at two different points in time and hence can be counted twice. The most challenging part of a census is to obtain accurate information. This depends largely on whether households and individuals tell the accurate information. This is perhaps where the census faces its greatest problem. Some people do not give the right information because they stand to gain from hiding the truth. In India, other than migrants, there could be problems in knowing the other information. In that sense, it can be under-enumerated or over-enumerated. The Census Act of 1948 in India makes it obligatory for residents to respond correctly to questions, but whether the response is true or not can be verified only after several cross-checks. In India, such checks consume enormous time and are not feasible sometimes. Questionnaires, therefore, need to be designed in such a way that they compel a person to give the correct information, and enumerators have to be tactful and skillful, or else such a large exercise may not be entirely meaningful. The 2011 census faced several important issues around data accuracy and the enumerators' experiences. While issues are inevitable while working at this scale, it is essential to consider the issues so that they can be properly addressed in the future census operations. Overall, in this module, we are able to focus on the origin for the census operations in India, the various methods that are adopted in collecting the information. For instance, the de facto method, the second de jure method of census, what conditions these methods are applicable with its various merits and demerits are discussed so as to understand that the advantages of the de jure method which has been adopted over a period of time will be clear. Also, the various census starting from 1991 census have been covered till the latest 2011 census. The various questions that have been included, the various questions that have been excluded over a period of these census periods were also discussed in detail so as to get an idea about the relevance of each of these operations, the type of variables and questions that have been collected in these census operations. Overall, it is a massive methodology that has been adopted, and also the scale in which the census operations are taken place clearly indicates that this official statistics by collecting through census is an important data source for not only for planning but also for implementation of various developmental programs in the country.